everybody, it's Jessie. I just wanted to take a few minutes and try as quickly as I can to provide those of you who missed our info session on Saturday, our free info session about CBD products and Kannaway. I wanted to give you the same information as best as I could. So I'm still new to Kannaway. I'm still new to CBD and hemp, and I'm learning so much every single day about it. So pardon me if I don't have every little piece of this information session memorized. I'm again still in the learning process. So I'm using the same presentation that my friend Jess used, and it was such an informative session on Saturday. I learned so much. So a little bit of backstory about my journey personally to finding CBD. I suffer from anxiety. I've had general anxiety. In other words, I have no trigger. I have no, there's no main root cause of it. I've dealt with that for about 14 years, and I've been medicated for the last 4 or 5 of those. I think I honestly can't remember exactly when, but recently I've been struggling and in the last year, and I've been very, very strongly considering upping my dosage of my medication. And I really didn't want to. So I started doing a lot of research, and we decided to give CBD a shot. And I am so happy that I did. I notice in myself that my general anxiety symptoms that were elevated, even with my prescription meds, that was one of the reasons I was considering, going up to another dose, that those symptoms I'm not dealing with at this point. Again, I'm still medicated, but the additional symptoms I had they're not present anymore, which is phenomenal. I also, I have some other things that I was looking for it to help with, and I'm so far extremely happy with it. I'm hoping to help people that I care about experience the same benefits that I have. And so far, I've had several family and friends who have tried CBD tell me that, that they've been dealing with pain and inflammation so much better, that they haven't had to use, creams or different things after the gym or when they have issues with carpal tunnel and arthritis. And it's really an amazing product. And the more I learn about it, I'm a science teacher. I teach biology, I teach anatomy. So the more I learn about it, the more I'm like, this makes so much sense. And so I really just want people to know what it is. What the truth is about it. So this presentation kind of will bring us through that. And so Kannaway is the company that I work for, but I'll explain why I chose to work with them over any other CBD distributor. But essentially, one of the most important things, and anybody else who knows me knows, that natural, organic, fully sustainable, those are things that are keywords that I live by, and I would not endorse or sell or even like a product that was not all of those things. So Kannaway, the stuff we sell is very good product. So the history of hemp, like what is hemp? So I will not lie to you, prior to a few years ago, I just assumed that hemp was like a different part of the marijuana plant, if that makes any sense. Like, oh, you use this part for pot and you use this part for hemp. Like, that's what I thought. But in reality, they are two members of the same genus, which is like saying a black bear and a polar bear, which is the example I use all the time. My husband makes fun of me for it. But they're both bears, obviously, but they are different. And so it's the same thing with hemp and marijuana. So they're both under this umbrella of cannabis, but they're different plants. So we have been using, or hemp has been used worldwide for thousands of years. When the the first European settlers arrived in the U.S. in the 1600s, we were growing industrial hemp. There are so many industrial uses for hemp. It's amazing. The draft of the Declaration of Independence is written on hemp paper, not the final draft, but the rough draft. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, they all grew hemp and they advocated it for commercial production. There are so many cases of people using hemp clothing, rope that they used on ships. A lot of that is still actually made from hemp. Textiles, industrial uses. There's so many things. Hemp was a staple crop in American agriculture all the way, especially in the 1800s, but through the 1800s, and it was actually the key strategy for winning the War of 1812 was controlling that hemp trade in Europe. So hemp has a huge history. 90% of all medicine derived from hemp in the 1800s and the early 1900s, to the point where if you look at if you go to apothecaries and you look at the old prescriptions that they gave, so many of them were hemp with something else added. And, it was not until recently that the science caught up with understanding why those things were actually working for whatever they were prescribed for. And it wasn't until 1937 that the Marijuana Tax Act kind of made it so that American farmers could not grow hemp anymore, with it being profitable. So basically, American law took marijuana and hemp and put them together into this tax act. And even though they're so different from each other, they just lumped them all in. And ever since then, hemp has not been a profitable thing for American farmers to grow. If you look at the plants themselves, marijuana is more like a bushy plant. Hemp actually is very similar, like it looks almost like bamboo. It's tall and lengthy. It can grow up to 20 feet high. It grows fast, and it has a high concentration of CBD, which is non-psychoactive, whereas marijuana has the high concentrations of THC, which is psychoactive. Around the world, hemp is grown mostly for fiber, and it's used in textiles. It's very strong fiber. And hemp seeds are the seeds from the plant known as cannabis sativa. So marijuana is grown specifically for its psychoactive effects for the THC, and it has no industrial application. So this was a really big thing for me, because I'm not a drug user. I'm not much of a really any kind of user. And so for me, this idea of hemp and CBD, I was like, eek, because it had a stigma to me. It meant something very different to me. And it wasn't until I learned that hemp and marijuana are two very different things, and that by using CBD, there's literally zero high effect. And that was something I just did not know. So hemp is all about health. It's all about natural health. Getting your body to where it needs to be is not about the high at all. So it's a very different situation with those two plants. So what is CBD? What are cannabinoids? So some people say cannabinoids. It's the same thing. So cannabinoids are a special compound found in hemp, and they're found in the cannabis plant family. There are at least 100 known cannabinoids. CBD is only one of them. You're gonna, if you start researching more about cannabinoids, you'll see that there are, there's CBA, CBGs. There's all sorts of cannabinoids. There's a lot of videos on out there that explain the little intricacies between them. There are nearly 400 other chemical compounds found in cannabis that are common to all plants, like chlorophyll, which is just a pigment that allows them to photosynthesize, terpenoids, flavonoids, plant waxes. Those are all things that are found in cannabis as well. So cannabinoids and cannabinoid-like compounds are found in a handful of other plants, such as echinacea, flax, common tea, kava, and hops. So those things are also beneficial to our health, and we really didn't understand why And now they're starting to see that those things are actually, they have cannabinoids as well. So this video explains generally how this system works. And I'm going to explain it very briefly, and you can watch the video at any time. But we have a system. So as an anatomy teacher, we teach, I teach the circulatory, cardiovascular system, the muscular system, skeletal system, nervous system, all the systems. Well, we have another system, and it's called the endocannabinoid system. And it's a naturally occurring system of the body that responds to cannabinoids. We have naturally occurring cannabinoids. When you eat a piece of chocolate, the reason you might feel happier isn't because of the sugar in the chocolate. It's because it has a naturally occurring cannabinoid in it that is reacting with your endocannabinoid system. So we have the system already in our body. We call it the endogenous cannabinoid system. It's the body's largest self-regulatory system, and it's very similar and very linked to our endocrine system. All right. So the endogenous cannabinoid system balances mood, sleep, appetite, hormone production. It does so much. And if you look at this picture here, it shows you we have two known CB receptors, cannabinoid receptors, and they're actually looking at labeling a third receptor as the CB3 receptor. The CB1 receptors are primarily found in our central nervous system, so our brain and spinal cord. We do have other of our main nerves will have some along there as well. CB2 receptors are found a lot in our gut, so our intestinal tract and places like that. So we find them also in the brain, but primarily we think of CB1 as the brain, CB2 as the digestive system, and other organs are visceral systems. The cannabinoid system of our body influences homeostasis and the harmony of all bodily functions. So how we maintain stability. So biologically speaking, one of the characteristics of living things is that we must maintain homeostasis. When you are sick, that's because your homeostasis is not balanced. You're not static. All right. When we have any illnesses or anything like that, it's because our homeostasis is not balanced. So the endocannabinoid system helps to bring our system to balance. All right. CB2 receptors also help to regulate our immune system, and CB3 receptors, or what they will be hopefully soon calling CB3 receptors, it's a receptor. I can't remember the exact letter and number combination that it's called. They are found on the surface of cells. So it's a receptor that they have a link to epilepsy and seizures, and they're also on the surface of cancerous cells and this is one of the crazy things, is that use of CBD is being linked to apoptosis of cancerous cells, which is programmed cell death, which is a good thing when you're talking about cancerous cells. You want apoptosis. You want the cells of the body to catch on to the fact that there is a tumor forming and to shut those cells down and kill them. And so what they're finding is that the CB3 receptors on the surface of cancerous cells is responding to these cannabinoids, which is something so awesome. So a deficiency in the endocannabinoid system can upset the body's balance, is what it basically comes down to. All right. This picture here, Dr. David Allen, he is a world-renowned cardiac surgeon, and he says the discovery of the endocannabinoid system is the single most important medical scientific discovery ever, and will save more lives than sterile surgical technique, which, if you're at all familiar with history of medicine or any of that, that is a huge statement. So this is from, again, a world-renowned cardiac surgeon. Kannaway is a subsidiary of Medical Marijuana Inc., and Medical Marijuana Inc. was the first publicly held cannabis company in the United States. Kannaway prides themselves on being a company of firsts. So that is definitely a really cool thing that they have, that they can say. They are the first direct selling company in the in the cannabis space. So this is something that they are paving the way for.